Hello and welcome to another episode of the World Theatre Festival podcast. We don't have a special guest today, so it's just me, Robbie, one of the organisers, and we've got Craig.
Hello.
So we just thought in this episode we'd like to update you all with our journey, because it's neither of us have ever put on a festival before, have we, Craig? So
No, this is our first time.
we're learning as we walk, shall we say, and we're trying to run quicker than we can walk, but there's so much to do. I think we always knew there was going to be a lot to do, but you don't ever realise quite how much is involved in anything till you actually get into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we both originally wanted to put on a play this year, maybe even...
Craig just wanted to put on a play.
Yeah,
I always had grand designs.
Robbie's always eccentric and I'm always grounded. But we obviously chatted about putting on a play because we both don't get to do as much theatre as we'd like. As trained actors, Robbie's on the road all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm making coffee all the time.
It's weird though, because I mean, my job is creative. I mean, you must have to be creative in your coffee job to an extent. Having to deal with customers all the time and come up with answers for questions and things that are probably quite mundane.
You get a lot of stories, you know.
And I work with kids. You know, kids will never ever bore you because they'll always have something random to tell you, whether you want to hear it or not.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, obviously, we both got. And obviously a vested interest in the actual festival itself because we're putting that on, producing that together. Then we've also got plays that we're going to be juggling at the same time because we wanted to get back on stage as well.
I think the gift and the curse for us so far with it is I was hoping we've had a few more submissions. But we were prepared to have no submissions, weren't we? That we'd have to do everything, maybe write shows, produce shows, performance shows, do this, do that, do the other. And we're not having to do it, I think, to the extent I was worried. But we are, like, I've written 2 or 3 shows just because we simply had gaps in the children's shows and I had ideas. So it's just a little bit of extra work that I'd put aside in my head. But in reality, I was like, oh, I really hope I don't, because obviously there's so many other things we're in charge of that are no one else's responsibility.
Yeah, well, even now, like, I've just done the casting for my project and we've just done a table read and we're going to move into rehearsals.
You're the furthest ahead so far,
I am the furthest ahead. I'm the first out the gates because I've done...
But you like to be well ahead of it. You don't like to be rushed, do you?
I've obviously done a few projects before under Time to 13, which is like, you know, this is like the 2.0 version of that company. So I kind of know what the expectations are for that and all of the things that go with it. So I obviously wanted to get a really good head start on that. But then at the same time, we're going to be producing a festival. So I want to make sure that everyone has a really good experience. And then at the same time as those two things, I need to be open and receptive to the fact that, you know, because we're producing yourself more than me, an extra few plays to fill a few of the gaps in maybe the children's section and stuff, that if things didn't come to fruition, that I would have to step in and maybe direct this or pick up a script for that.
And we're still prepared last minute.
Yeah.
We kind of geared ourselves up for it, but fingers crossed, because, I mean, where are we up to at the moment? We've got our venue sorted, haven't we? Which was quite stressful, and it's not necessarily the fault of the venue. You just assume things will always be easy, but there's always so many options when you hire things.
We might be asking them stupid questions for clarity, but we don't know because it's all us just fishing around in the dark.
I am a believer though that there isn't a stupid question, just sometimes silly people.
Yeah, well then, okay, so maybe that's me. Okay, so this week we had a meeting with the Wirral Youth.
It was it was a meeting with all the people who work with youth in Wirral. They were all invited. It was a small meeting though. I think there's a lot more people that could be there, but yeah.
Yeah, so we got to pitch our idea of what the festival would be and obviously ask them if they would have any interest in coming, see if we could get them some affordable tickets for the people.
Well, they were open and receptive, weren't they? Because we weren't really sure like what they could do to help us, but we were invited to the meeting by Christine Marchant, who I was put in contact with by someone else on a course I was on. And she just said, she sounded very positive, was like, oh, we'll just come, tell us what it's about, tell us how we can help you or support you, and we'll do what we can. I thought that's a really nice, open way to be, and I wish there was more groups and people and organisations like that, because until you hear what someone's got to say, I always think you shouldn't judge.
And then we turned up, and she recognised me because I'd used her youth space for my rehearsals for my company a few years before COVID. So she remembered me, so I think that hopefully went in our favour. She just wants everybody to kind of get on. And that's like a really good quality to have. And we made these workshops that we wanted to do in schools, and we pitched them to schools, and there was no takers. And then you go to this little table meeting, and you go, oh, we've got these workshops, and they're like, sold. We'll have the workshops, of course, because the
With
kids,
freebie.
the kids would. Well, we offered them to free to the schools, but they never made it to the the correct departments to offer them out. Which, to be honest, was quite heartbreaking because obviously we want that community aspect to really flourish.
It's sad, but I think it's really indicative of how hard it is for schools and how busy they are that these things just get sidelined. Because I think teachers have so much on their plates that other priorities come ahead of them, and maybe these emails got pushed to one side.
Through these youth initiatives,
Yeah.
we might find a way in now to be able to get these to the people that might be able
That's
to
it,
benefit
because obviously
from
a
them.
teacher's priority is to get the grades, get it taught, whereas these youth engagement officers is to engage with the youth, which is what we're wanting to do. So they probably are our best avenue.
I mean, me personally, I wasn't a model student. I didn't really enjoy school that much.
Academia wasn't your first
No,
choice.
maybe I've matured into it over the years, but
It's hard though, because they only have one mold that they try and fit everyone into, and as we're learning as we get older, like there's so many different versions of people.
Well, I just know that the kind of workshop that I was going to run for them, which was going to be a non-script text workshop, more physical theatre. I know that for people like me, that would have been like a really good avenue in, or a chance for somebody who normally doesn't feel like they're good at like education in school to see that there's another way. So like I kind of designed the workshop around the idea that there's more people out there like me that could end up getting into the arts if you remove more barriers and get them excited for stuff. So I kind of, like when you go into something with the energy that you want it to be successful, and the success of that actual product, the vessel is it's not up to you how it kind of transpires. So I did feel a little bit deflated with that. But obviously I'm hoping that through this meeting that we'll be able to get that out to people within the community still. And because they seem to be very interested and they want to get as many things for their...
Absolutely. I think they're really trying to give the children, the young people, as many experiences that they may not get from their own circumstances as possible. Like, if they can afford to, I think they've organised trips to like theme parks and stuff, which, they're expensive trips.
Yeah.
Not everyone is lucky enough to be able to afford to go on them.
Well, I literally went to the Morton Youth... what's the word? I'm missing out.
Centre?
Yeah, the youth centre. I went to the Morton Youth Centre when I was a kid, and I went on some of these trips, and
the good memories. I remember. I did them with church.
You did them with church.
But I remember going on a church
set
trip.
myself on fire when I walked through the church doors as
They
a
were
child.
like, go to Alton Towers, and then there's a free Christian concert on at the end in the car park.
Woo woo!
We'll go and do the roller coasters first.
Yeah, we'll do the bit that we're invested in.
To be fair,
first.
it wasn't a bad concert afterwards. So people I've never heard of because I wasn't heavily into Christian music, but it was, it was good live music events at the end of the day.
Anything that exposes you to creativity is good.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day. And then as a result of the meeting, it seems that maybe one of the things that we weren't finding it difficult, but we've been trying to find a measure of how much it costs for rehearsal space, what that's going to look like to people's budgets. And
it's all
really
these little
difficult.
micro things that add up, don't they?
You don't think about it at the beginning, but then you start going, okay, how much would it cost for this? How many hours am I going to need? Am I going to drag the coffee table out the way in the front room of my house because it's affordable, and then just get a rehearsal space for the last week? So they have offered us the opportunity to have space to rehearse, and that is
Eternally grateful for that.
huge hurdle that's now been removed so that we can kind of just look forward to getting into the rehearsal space.
Because it is, for me, it's a catch-22, because obviously I want to be able to let everyone come to the theatre, but also to me it's so important that anyone involved in our festival, especially if they're new to putting work on themselves, understands like we should be able to get paid for our craft. It's one of the only professions where it seems okay to do it for fun. It's like, but that's a hobby, and it's not a hobby for us. If it was a hobby, we'd have joined our amateur dramatics and done it that way alongside our normal jobs. We've chosen to go to drama school, put in all the time, the effort, the dedication, the bruises, the broken bones sometimes people get, to really hone our craft. I really want people to be able to see that you can make a living. It may not be easy, but you can make a living, or at least make an income or a side income off doing your acting. If you go about it.
And then at the same time, you look at it and you go, well, that space is going to be multifunctional because we'll be able to use that for our castings that we're going to put out for our directors and the actors that are going to be for local people for the shows.
And that's where we're up to, aren't we? We're looking for our directors, so we'll be putting an advert out this week for that. I think there's about 4 or 5
shows and about
we need
17 actors we need to fill the roles.
So there's plenty of roles out there. I'm not against people acting in more than one thing if we don't get the kind of turnout, but it'd be lovely to have different people. Mainly so, I'd love to get to know what other talent is on the Wirral, because as you've said, I'm on the road all the time, so I'm kind of very out of the loop of the creative talent on Wirral, as a possibly you from, taking, as we'd call it, the muggle job for a couple of years.
It's like a networking event in itself. Yeah. It's like when I was casting for my particular project, I happened to be lucky enough to find like the perfect people to fill them roles. But then when I'm in the space with all of these other people who are going to turn up to our auditions, like if you've got other ideas for like the festival in the future or other film projects you might have, these faces will pop in and you'd be like, oh, I've got their contact details, I'll bring them in.
And it almost becomes like a disease in a good way, because diseases aren't necessarily good. I get my creativity gets inspired by seeing other creative people. Do you know what I mean? I love going to the theatre when I can. I wish I had more time to go, because it just inspires me to be creative. Like, oh, I just love that show that I saw. I want to do something creative now. Yeah. Like it just starts that little fire that I think not everyone has, because other people have other priorities in life. But for me, creativity will always be one of my big things. I can't not be creative.
Yeah, when I do like any creative endeavour, it normally comes with a lot of the baggage that people don't really talk about, like the producing side, the finding rehearsal space, the liaison with people, dragging people to the rehearsals.
Far though, I'm not finding it too stressful.
No, it's
not
really,
yet. I'm enjoying it because it's manageable.
What I'm hoping is it's a combination of the fact that we've been there and done it before, and we're a bit more chilled out about it because we're handling it as we go, and also a combination of the fact that we know that we're actually quite resourceful people.
We are, and I think we've got quite a good relationship as producers together, even though it's the first thing we've done, because we know each other's skill sets. Digital wise, I can do most of the stuff to a fairly good standard, so I can look after that. You can do the physical side. I think we're able to delegate, and I know you possibly think I'm doing a little bit more at the moment, but I know over the summer holidays you'll have a lot more input in other things that I can't help in. So I think we're very fairly balanced with our skill set. And we're utilising each other for what our biggest skills are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, last week was nice because last Saturday, it was like, we're in May, aren't we? So the beginning of May, we started doing some of the interviews with some of the talents.
And I hadn't met them.
And you met none of them because I'd gone for all of them nice coffees.
You beefed them up for me.
Yeah, and I'd heard about all of their projects.
Sorry, you've actually mushroomed them up for me.
Yeah, mushroom them up, yeah. We'll corn them up. And it was nice because although obviously I'd met them, I was like being reintroduced to them. They had only kind of met me in like a coy kind of way, and then they
were essentially pitching to you, weren't they?
Yeah. So this time, like they're coming in, they're excited to talk about their work, and it's nice to see them meet you for the first time because like you're just a guy who will drop a message in a WhatsApp like, I need this thing, please.
Yeah, I'll just send them an order.
And you don't know how that's going to come across because people read things differently. And then obviously they meet you and you've obviously got a very different demeanour than like a...
I don't know.
Well, in this context, you come across as likeable.
I try my best.
And it's, it's just, it's nice to see that kind of moving down. And then they do the podcasts and they're doing the interviews, and they can kind of see that we're investing in the product so that they have the best possible chance.
It's like I said with the creativity, inspiring creativity. I think they can see how much we're trying to put our heart and soul into it. And it's not necessarily for a monetary gain out of it. We just really passionately want to make a really good festival. So I think that's making them inspired to say, okay, yeah, I will come and do the podcast. I will come and I'll get you this poster. I'll get you this. I'll get you that, because I know you're going to take it and do the best you can with it to push me as much as I'm going to push myself. Which is all, I try never to promise anything I don't think I can achieve, because I hate empty promises. I'd much rather someone's honest and say, I'm sorry, I can't do that, that's too much for me, than they say, oh yeah, I can, and then 6 weeks later they come panicked, I can't do this. I was like, oh, if you'd have just said in the beginning, like, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think if we go back a couple of steps to when we were talking about like the process of trying to bring it all together and stuff, I think because we started so far out and we've just been consistent with the small steps forward as opposed to making a huge list.
I put the mountain there, and you don't take it back to ground level. You just bring it down to like a tall hill, and then I put a new mountain, and then so you've always kind of brought me back.
So it's like we have a meeting on a Saturday.
You're dreaming Hollywood, Robbie. I'm going to bring us back to this is what we've got money for. Yeah, so what we can afford.
We'll have like a face-to-face meeting every Saturday morning, and we look at a couple of things that are going to get us a little bit closer by the next Saturday to what we're trying to achieve. And I think over time we've taken something that maybe might have seemed like an impossible task, and then you break it down and we're kind of just moving through the motions, but we're not at any point feeling like we've got these ridiculous deadlines, because we're making sure that we hit them.
We've got our
weeks
website
before we would have to worry about them.
Every single poster is sorted now. We just need to maybe do some printable ones with like QR codes and like the actual detail of it, like all the posts for the website. The floral pavilion where we're doing it at has got all the information they need to put it on sale. I think that should be on sale in a couple of days, on the Monday, fingers crossed, or Tuesday at the latest. So as soon as that's done, it's just us then pushing it.
Rehearsal spaces, but we'll have roughly 3 months of the shows being cast to be into rehearsal process.
And it means if people want to, they can either choose to do an intense week before, or if they want to do it slowly, drip feeding every weekend, that's on them to decide. Like, I don't think it's our place to dictate. I think all we do is maybe stick some healthy deadlines, say ideally you should have it part rehearsed by this point and be in your final rehearsals by this point. If not, let us know if you need help so we can be there.
Yeah, well, it's like not the program, but the itinerary that we've offered out for people of doing the podcasts and doing the interviews, and then we want to offer them like a little flavour trailer that can kind of be layered between the two. If you couldn't get your work together by, say, the beginning of July, then you'd obviously miss out on that.
Because as you said, like, you've got a show that you then need to put all your efforts in, because I want any of my shows to be the best I can do.
But it also encourages people to be at a certain point by a certain time, so that they can talk about things. Creators,
we're not the best with deadlines in general.
No.
So it's good to give people that. I always think, try and turn up early to an interview. Always, be as pleasant as you can. You don't have to be fake, but, always try and be the nicest version of yourself.
Yeah, and I think, like, even when we were doing the auditions for my show and any of the meetings that I've had with people, when you meet them in a coffee shop and you're having a chat about
I liked how laid back it was. They still auditioned for you, but the pressure was taken away of, like, let's just meet you. Okay, let's do the lines. Like,
yeah, it's one of those things where if you're relaxed about it, and the way I've kind of looked at things as an actor over the years is, sometimes it's not a case of like going and snatching the role, which is kind of what you're told when you're in drama school, you want to stand out, but sometimes they're just looking for what's best for the role. And when I audition now, I've got an idea in mind of what I'm looking for, and I just keep going till I find it. But it doesn't mean the other people along the way were wrong. It just means that I don't have the time to mold people, so I'm looking for distinctive characters.
I think drama school prepares a lot of us only for the West End.
Oh, okay.
Only for those big auditions where you've got 100 people vying for that one role. Whereas, as much as those are probably great shows to be in, and I'd love to be in a couple of them if the opportunities come along, this kind of more fringy aspect or smaller scale theatre, you get a lot less people probably auditioning for it, so you can afford to actually meet everybody and put a little bit of extra time. I think sometimes in the West End you may get a minute or two to make your mark. So you have to make your mark.
I haven't met anybody yet who's not been pleasant, and nice. And like, even the people who weren't particularly right for my show, I've been like, well, you guys are really great, fantastic, want you to be involved. So they've gone straight into the pool for the actors for the other shows.
Yeah.
It's like, great energy from people.
We've not met any egos yet, really.
No, we've had a few on the peripherals.
Possibly, but and I think that's really lovely, because some people have an ego, and that can be absolutely fine. But I always think, for me, I need to be able to work with someone as much as they need to be right for the job. To me, they've got to come hand in hand. Like, I don't ever want a difficult or precious rehearsal room if I'm in it kind of thing. I just like it to be not fun, like get the work done, but everyone's kind of dedicated in a passionate way.
Well, I think we're very different to what you maybe might expect when you turn up to audition or to pitch your show. So you might have an idea in your head of what we might be like. And obviously when we're doing our emails and stuff, we try and be very formal. So before you've met us, you might think of us in a certain way.
Yeah.
And then you meet us and we're just kind of like people who want to make something that's nice. Yeah. Give people opportunities.
And I also think, like, I keep trying to instill this with the kids that I work with on the road. Like, it's okay to mess up. It doesn't mean you won't get the best mark. Like, because we do like little drama things and we give them a 5-star rating. And I say, think of this like a health food rating. I said, they get that based on one visit, on one occasion, and that's what they get rated on. Doesn't matter how good yesterday was, how good tomorrow is, they get rated on. I said, if I give you a little star rating, I said, you can still disagree with me, but it'll be based on that performance. I said, your rehearsals might have been better or worse. That's all I'm going to give it you on. And it is just objective. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'd like to say for these auditions. Like, I'd like people to know, like, we are looking to cast you, not turn you away.
Yeah, and also
But
like
if there's
some
more people, obviously we can't have you all. But we're always trying to cast people.
Yeah, well, also some people audition better than other people. I've worked with people who audition fantastically well. You get them in a rehearsal space, and you go, "What happened?"
I was very lucky because my parents never, they were able to afford me to do different things, but they never said no to me trying anything. So I was very lucky to have lots of strings to my bow. I never really had to audition properly for a lot of things because I knew I had extra skills that it makes more sense to hire Robbie than someone else because he can play the piano as well. He can MD the show, or he can do this, he can do that. So I was always the better option, even if I wasn't the better actor. I'm not saying I wasn't or I was, but no. But like I always think, and I would always say to everyone, if you can learn an extra skill,
a lot of my skills that are all physical and I'm getting older,
but it will never do you any harm. It can only be a benefit if you've got an extra skill to be able to.
You might get a handstand out of me these days.
But they're looking for real things now, aren't they? It's like we're looking for genuine baristas to be in our next advert. It's like, well, we're for Starbucks.
Yeah. I'll smash that role. I've been method acting for years.
Absolutely. Do you want me to be a happy Starbucks, a moody Starbucks? I can do both.
Yeah, is it first thing in the morning when I'm putting out the pastries, or is it last thing at night when I'm at a problem customer?
So I think what you can take from this podcast is we're still in a good place. We're still happy. We're not hating life because it's very, very stressful. There's lots to do, but I don't know how we're fitting it around full-time jobs, but we are. We are getting it done. I think that's where you're really good for me. You'll help me break it down into little chunks. I'll usually leave it to the last minute. I'll be up till 3 a.m. doing it.
No, we'll get there and it won't be stressful.
No, not at all. And we're lucky because I take the summer off because I work in school, so I can be there for any last minute emergencies or doing this or doing that or flyering. But obviously you can all help. If anyone's wanting to help us, the best thing you can do is share anything we post if you want. Tag anyone you think that might like to come. And obviously buy a ticket if you think you would like to come. I would point out there's better discounts if you buy more than one ticket. So I would advise you...
Be a multi-buyer.
That's it. Or if you're going to come to one show, see if any friends want to come even to the same show, and one of you buy the tickets for everyone. You get, I think, 10% off your second ticket and 20% off your third ticket onwards. So if you bought, I think, 6 tickets, essentially one of them is free.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal if you ask me.
So, and it's £10 a ticket. We kind of go to the cinema for that. And genuinely, I think we've got some really, really good shows going to be on. Something for everyone, I think.
Lots of flavour.
Absolutely. Some will make you laugh, some will make you cry, some will shock you. But they all seem like just lots of good fun from what I've read and really diverse. We've been really, really lucky, I think, to get such a diverse group of shows.
Yeah, and
of no one knowing who we are. They took a leap of faith with us as well.
Of course. And very soon we'll start putting the interviews out and stuff, and you'll get to know the artists a little bit more. And I think that's really, really endearing.
And that's the exciting bit, because I haven't seen many podcasts for festivals, and I think it's... because they're quite not easy, but like it's more accessible to be able to produce podcasts, to be able to produce YouTube videos. I think it's really, really nice for like the public, the audience goers to maybe, I mean, I don't know about you, I used to love the director's commentary on some DVDs.
Love it.
To see what people thought, like an Alien. Oh, well, that moment, we didn't tell them that it was going to burst out the stomach.
The making of is the best.
Genuine, like Scorsese probably gives some great director interviews because he's very method, isn't he, and doesn't like to give the actors too much kind of thing. So that's what these podcasts are hopefully for. And we'll also update you regularly on our journey of creating a festival, because there might be other people listening to this who might think, oh, I'd like to put on some work. It's daunting, but it's doable, is what I'd probably say. But don't be afraid to have a go.
All it takes is a pen and paper and a checklist.
And if you have to fund it yourself, just give yourself a budget and stick to it. Don't go over it. Don't bankrupt yourself, especially if you're going to involve other people. We were very fortunate to get funding for this one, but obviously after this year, there may not be a guarantee of funding. We've got to look at how we could replicate this potentially again.
Work smart.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hard bit is, I think, once you've done one, it's got to be of a similar quality or more, hasn't it? We can't drop quality. So once we've set a bar this year, we've kind of almost shot ourselves in the foot of, well, that's the minimum we can do now, because that's what people will expect. But I like it because it holds you accountable.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll push each other. That's what we're really, really good at. We have rabbited on a little bit more on this one. So if you have stayed with us to the end, thank you very much. Don't forget, you can follow us on all of the social medias, can't they? We've got
Instagram, Facebook, X.
Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter.
Yeah.
Facebook is the best one because you can do lots of different posts on that one, whereas Instagram's only pictures. And also go and check out the website, www.wirraltheatrefestival.co.uk. We can find links to the podcast. You can find out what's going on with the shows. And on each show page, we will be populating that with any rehearsal footage we get, any interviews will be linked on there. And you can just really find out about the shows that hopefully you're going to come and see. So thank you from me.
Thank you from me.
And see you all soon.
See you guys.